Hi, Turko. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me on.
Well, thank you for coming on. This is a really fun day for me because, I've been kind of following you since you did your Southern Oklahoma work. And that's kind of where I think, you kind of started to make a name for yourself. And, through the years, you did the work with the one company. I can't remember what they're called off the top of my head.
Oh, applied stratigraphics?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
yes,
I do my structural geology field trip with them, so
yes.
that's
So you're
fun.
still involved with them, but then, you started with your content creation and the Fractured Fridays. So really, I should have started off the show saying Happy Fractured Friday.
Yeah,
Um,
it's a fractured Friday, isn't it?
it sure is. It sure is. So, anyways, thank you for coming on. And why don't you just take a minute to tell everybody about yourself and what you do?
That sounds good. I am Dr. Molly Turko, and I usually say that I'm your favorite structural geologist.
You
You got to
are.
have some catchy thing about yourself. So when people think structural geologist, they're like, "Oh, I have a favorite one," and it's me, right?
Yeah, there's no doubt about that for
I
sure.
don't know.
You really have done a good job on the branding. That's
Yeah,
kind of one of the things I'm trying to take a page out of your book as I start this. So,
yeah.
how do you do it?
Um, I don't I don't know that I've ever really thought too hard about it. There's a lady on LinkedIn. She's a lawyer and she's really kind of, I guess, badass is what I would say.
Yeah.
And she sent me a message one day and she says, "You really need to do an intro to your videos, something that makes you memorable and stand out." And so I thought about that and I kind of laughed because I'm like, oh, I'm your favorite structural geologist. And I just went with it. And
I love
now
it.
like I can't start a video without that like going into my brain, like, "Hi everybody, I'm Dr. Molly Decker, your favorite structural geologist." And it feels so cheesy, but it
That's
works
great.
because people remember it. I mean, people actually remember it. But yeah, so I'm a structural geologist and work primarily in oil and gas. I've done a little bit of work or consulting in like the mining industry, tapped into geothermal a little bit. Basically, any kind of rock that people want where there's faults and fractures, like I'm there.
Oh, that's awesome. And like I say, it started with the Southern Oklahoma work. And for those of us that work in Oklahoma, we're kind of bounded by these two really big faults. Really, we've got the Nemaha going north south, and then some east west action kind of along the southern border of the Anadarko Basin. And it was a 3D interpretation, if I'm not mistaken. And, you worked out the kinematics. And for
Mm.
me, particularly, I've always been fascinated with strike slip faults. And now, while these are really big, kind of normal faults in a sense. Like, really, the reason I was looking at your paper was look at like the strike slip component of it because I don't know what it is. It's just so much more complicated.
Mm.
And actually, to be honest with you, what it really was that along the Nemaha, we actually see the scissoring. You'll
Mm.
see, like, you're just coming along strike of the fault, and the what side is up switches.
Yeah.
And, it actually factors into the Oklahoma City field, West Edmond Hunt and Lime unit where I was working. And then
Yeah.
on up, I've got some working interest in overrides up kind of Nemaha territory in Kansas and northern Oklahoma. So that's something I think about often. And so that's kind of what drew me to your work. But what I really noticed was that you were very keen and had like a really natural understanding of like the kinematic aspect of it and like the little shears and fault
Yeah.
tips and all this kind of things that I'm going to be honest with you. I think I'm a decent structural geologist, but nowhere near the level of where you are. I'm good at chemistry, which is really elements plus geometry. So now for me, structural geology is geometry plus art. And so
I
I'm
haven't
kind of
heard that
left brained.
before.
And so
Yes.
really I'm fascinated with the peoples whose minds are just like structurally, down to the like grain dislocation.
Mhm.
Um, detail oriented about this kind of stuff. So, what do you think drove you? Was it just something you always kind of liked when how did you become a geologist? And was like the
Yeah.
structural component something that like really resonated with you?
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean I got into geology in general kind of going through college. I wanted to be a brain surgeon and a plastic surgeon. Failed biology, so that really wasn't an option. But then I had a semester where I had a bunch of earth science courses and all of those clicked. I did really well that semester and my professor, he was a petroleum geologist. And this was at a community college. So
Okay.
I kind of asked him, I'm like, geology's cool. What can I do with it? And I, you can go into the oil and gas industry. And so I decided to get more than a 2-year degree. So I went to University of Tulsa to get a 4-year degree.
Nice.
And there were some amazing professors back then. They've all pretty much since retired. But
I've
one of
heard
my
stuff about
professors,
over there.
what, sorry?
I've just heard stuff about over there, actually.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So
Yeah, it's
sad to hear.
yeah, it's not what it once was,
Yeah.
but one of my professors was a structural geologist, and he was very passionate about Southern Oklahoma. And that really sparked kind of my passion. So his passion was contagious.
Yeah.
And
I
I
had
think,
professors that did the same thing.
yeah, yeah, it's important. But I think naturally structure made sense to me because I've always loved geometry and trigonometry.
Me
Like
too.
calculus, no, chemistry,
Same.
no, but angles, like
Yeah.
that's predictable. Like
Yeah.
to me, angles are
And
predictable.
solvable too. Like for me, like I remember in high school, I was like, this makes so much sense. Like you can solve so
Yes.
many things. I remember that was my favorite subject too. That's funny.
Yeah.
And it
Yeah.
goes into my geosteering too, actually.
Oh, that's
Like
true.
if you really think about it, really what all I do is work with trig,
Yeah. That's
planning and my angles and all that kind of stuff. It's geometry. So
Yeah. My professor would say your like your right angle triangle, I forget what we called them, our little triangle things, like these are our best friends. And it's like
yeah, yeah. And it's
it's
funny that we
true.
use the triangles. Really, like all of our math is based on triangles.
That's true.
Not squares or anything. It's these
Yeah.
angles that we deal with. So that's where you have your natural kind of talent for this. That's really cool. So let's talk a little bit about career paths. So we talked about the University of Tulsa. Then for master's and PhD, what did you do?
So I only did 2 years at TU and then I graduated with my bachelor's.
Great.
And since I only did 2 years, I felt like it was good to go ahead and stay 2 more years and get a master's.
Hmm.
I also had a teaching assistant, so it was free, so that kind of made sense. And then I graduated with my master's in 2011 and went to work with Chesapeake Energy in Oklahoma City.
Okay.
I really missed school and I've always had a desire to teach.
Hmm.
And so after working a couple of years, I decided it was a good time to maybe pursue a PhD. And it also worked out well because there's a world-renowned structural geologist named Shankar Mitra, and he was at OU, University of
Nice.
Oklahoma,
Hmm.
which was like a 30-minute drive from where I lived. So I reached out to him and he kind of took me under his wing and I went back to school part-time while working full-time and eventually got my PhD in structural geology and did my whole dissertation on Southern Oklahoma, the tectonic evolution of it.
Beautiful work.
Yeah,
It's in
I
my library.
love
No, it's
geology.
you should be proud of it. That it's so good. It's so
Oh,
good.
thank you.
Hmm.
Thank you. Yeah, I had a really good advisor, Dr. Mitra, and then I'm really thankful to Chesapeake because they allowed me to use all of their data, which was like a swath of like 2D and 3D and well data and high resolution grav mag because they used to prospect and drill down there,
Yeah,
which thankfully they weren't when I was doing my research because then they allowed me to use the data and eventually publish on it.
totally. And they were
Beautiful.
actually pretty cool about a lot of stuff, but there are economic factors that go in. If they're actively down there trying to do stuff, it would be hard to get the data for sure.
That's true. That's true.
So, okay, so Chesapeake, and then you know what? Real quick before you keep going, the other thing, and I want to circle back to this for sure, but here's the mad respect part. You were being a mom during all of this, right?
Yeah, so I had my first son, Bo. He was born in 2017 and I didn't graduate till 2019. So yeah, he was born in July and I was really nervous to tell my professor. I was worried he was going to think I was going to like drop out.
Hmm.
Um, so I
But you
took all
didn't.
of my like oral and written exams and I passed those and I was like 5 months pregnant and wore just a big suit jacket so nobody could tell. They probably just thought like, golly, she's eating a lot. But then after I passed my all of my like oral and written exams, that's like your qualifying exams.
Sure.
I finally told him and I was
Okay.
like, I'm gonna have to take the summer off, but I promise I'm not gonna like quit.
Right.
Uh, and so he was totally cool with it. I think women get nervous about telling people they're pregnant because I don't know, it's just it's kind of like it's a big life-changing event and you don't want people to just write you off or think less of you or be like, oh well, I can't rely on her now. So it's yeah, it's nervous to tell people when you're like first pregnant.
Thank you for sharing that. And as a man, that's something that like I would never think about or ever have to deal with. And so,
Yeah.
I really like that you're able to get that out there and people, that eventually watch this podcast, can kind
Yeah.
of hear
And
that
it's
because,
common too.
yeah, that I mean, and it is really, like I say, thank you for sharing that. But that's a unique perspective that, I think that it does take courage to be a woman in this kind of environment. And, the feelings and all these things around, because listen, there's an event, if you're pregnant, what, and this is coming from me, a man, from my perspective, I could see where you would be worried about the people thinking, like you were saying, that you're going to leave, or,
Yeah.
maybe that there are going to be more distractions now, or like your commitment isn't going to be able to be, what it was before. But what I've seen through the women that I've worked with and the friends that I've had in this business is that y'all are strong and y'all get it done. And including my ex-wife and all the girls that I know, I really respect you guys. And mine just went back to work for the first time in 11 years. And so I'm kind of seeing these family dynamics, and because I was the breadwinner for a long time, and so I did. I'm a you've seen me with my kids. I do a lot
Yeah.
with them, and
Yeah.
but it wasn't the level that it takes. And even though she wasn't working, that's an insanely intense job.
Oh,
And
it
so
is.
adding the work on top when they're little, you just had them, you're having to deal with pumping and all these things.
Yeah.
Like I was there, delivered all three of my babies. I
Yeah.
love this stuff. And so,
That is so cool.
um, anyways, I want to say I have a lot of respect for that and continue to do it. And what I really like to see is that you take them out with you into the field,
Yeah,
right?
that's true.
Yeah, my little girl Petra, I think you've met her. She
Yes.
actually touched my heart. She wants to be a geologist, so
Oh,
she's gonna have to
good.
come and hang out with you a little bit more.
Yes. Yes. Hopefully I can, my passion will be contagious.
Yep, yep. So, what do you guys have going on with your field trips coming up, and what's going on?
Um, so my official field trips, I do a 5-day structural geology field trip through a company called Applied Stratigraphics. They're all over LinkedIn, and we go to you fly into Las Vegas, which is really cool in of itself. And
Yeah,
then we usually stay kind of on the east side of Vegas. Henderson is usually a good spot.
right.
We
So these
go,
are Death Valley field trips, basically, or are they close?
um, there's an option to go to Death Valley for one
Okay,
day on my
okay,
field trip. Yeah, so
okay.
Death Valley, I think, is about a 2 or 3 hour drive from Vegas.
Yeah.
So that does make for a really long drive.
Hmm.
And
And kind of a long day with clients and guests, I would think. And
yeah.
it's hot
So
there
if
too.
someone's never been, like if you have a group and a lot of people have never been, it's a really cool trip to go.
Yeah.
But a lot of times with geologists, they've usually been to Death Valley, and so
Yeah.
we
We did
we
field
look
camp
at
there.
other options. But yeah, we do. I mean, we talk about all the different tectonic environments. They're all there in Vegas. We go to Valley of Fire, which is where my picture's from back there. There's incredible fracturing there.
Hmm.
We do a really cool hike in Arrow Canyon where you have a big limestone belt with just there's a thrust belt, and then you get got normal faulting there. We spend several days in the muddy mountains, and then we go over to Red Rocks Canyon and we see the famous Keystone Thrust.
Hmm.
A lot of just kind of
Now,
understanding.
is the Keystone Thrust a metamorphic core complex?
No, the Keystone Thrust. So if you go to Red Rock Canyons where we see it, you can see like these red rocks behind me. They're very red. They stand
Hmm.
out. And these are Jurassic. And then we see this like thrust unconformity where we see these like cobblestones that are
Sure.
up there. And on top of that is like Mississippian, Cambrian, these
Oh,
like
this
gray
is severe
limestone.
age. This is more severe orogeny.
Yes,
Okay, there
yes,
we go.
yeah,
See, we were just talking about the severe river before. Yes, no,
yes,
that's what I'm
yeah.
talking about. I'm telling you,
Yeah.
we got to collaborate on a big picture, 2 hour YouTube video.
Yeah. Yes. In the field, maybe.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Exactly. Not on a freaking, nobody wants to watch 2 hours of this for sure. But like a combined theme from like the Wind River Range all the way down, there's some really cool stuff, and it ties into these, what you're talking about is a major, continental collision building part of North America. And
Yeah.
this feature reaches kind of all the way from almost Mexico all the way up to Canada, more or less, right? So,
Yeah.
okay, well, keep going. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to take your thunder from your field trip.
No, you're good. It's just, I mean, like we see all of my favorite rocks and talk about kinematics and why faults moved and how structural geology can be predictable. Everybody who attends gets these little like Andy cubes. You can see a picture of one.
Hmm.
Um, it's based on Andersonian fault theory. So back in the 1950s, Ernest Mason Anderson did a bunch of these tests where he basically put stresses on the rocks and then looked at how they were breaking. And it breaks down the relationship between your principal stresses and the orientation of your faults and fractures. But to me, this is like the foundation of structural geology. And if you can wrap your head around this, which takes all but 5 minutes of a very detailed explanation, then
Hmm.
you can start to understand how structure can be predictable, which its structure is very complex, but it can be broken down into very simple concepts.
Hmm.
And like that's kind of my favorite thing to do when I teach is just watching the light bulb go off in people's head once they kind of understand that fault cube. And then you can go to a fault in an outcrop and be like, okay, this is the orientation of it. Your stresses were doing this when this formed. And it's you just see that light bulb go off in people. And that's like the best feeling as an instructor.
I could just only imagine, and to the student as well.
Yeah,
And in our careers and when we were in school and stuff like that, I remember those moments, when it
yeah.
finally clicks. In exploration, for example, I was talking to one of my old bosses, Jim Bucci, the other day, and he's the one that made it click for me on what it takes to put a prospect together.
Oh,
And so
yeah.
I really like that, and a good teacher, a good mentor, really go a long way. And you certainly fill that description on both. So
No,
that's good. So you work for a big company.
I
And
do.
how is the balancing between and because I'm kind of headed this way, right, with consulting, and I'm trying to do some content creation also. So how do
Yeah.
you balance your work life? And you're kind of like me, my outside of work is actually still the same thing, geology and like engineering aspects. But so how do you balance the family, the full-time job, the field trips, and then your content creation? It seems like you're a lot busier than I am right now, for sure.
Um, it's probably not balanced, but
I can relate.
just kind of one day at a time.
Yeah,
I I mean, I love my job. It's to me, it's not a job. I don't even know that I'd call it a career. It's a passion, and I'm just thankful that I get to be in a position where I do what I love every day. It's not like a 8 to 5 grind where I'm just like doing Excel spreadsheets. I mean, I get to look at really cool seismic data
nice.
and wells and make maps and think about stress and use my brain. And
And
that's,
create.
yeah,
You're creating the whole time too, and you get to show your creation, which,
that's true. Yeah. I mean, I create my own things on the outcrops, and then My company has been really good about letting me present on certain things at conferences, but it to me, like work is very fulfilling and it kind of just helps me to keep going every day.
Yeah.
So having that is really great. And then I love like my family, my boys are 3 and 8.
Okay. I've
They're
got a 3-year-old right now, and it's the kiss of death. So, sorry. So I feel your pain. Oh, my other two are not that bad.
That's
So go
funny.
ahead. I'm sorry.
Mine are perfect angels, but that's a little biased.
Oh, yeah.
No, they definitely give me some grace on some days, but
Yeah.
I mean, when I go home in the evening, all my focus is on them and same on the
Same here.
weekends.
Yeah.
And I do try to, take them out to the outcrops or go to a park and maybe we'll make some videos. And so I do a lot of content creation, but I kind of go through phases where I do a lot at once
Hmm.
and then I post it over a period of time. Like
Totally.
people,
You bank them. I'm
yeah,
actually trying to do that right now,
exactly.
just because I could be pretty busy soon.
Right? People think I'm in the field like every day, all the time. And they're like, how do you do it? I'm like, I was in the field for one day and I made like 5 videos. So that's
Right.
5 weeks or 10 weeks worth of content because I don't post every day. I don't even post every week.
Right.
But you can usually tell whenever I'm really busy because I stop posting for
Yeah.
like a couple
Yeah.
weeks.
Yeah.
Because you gotta, I don't just want to like drop a video and then walk away. Like people comment on it or ask
Right.
questions and I try to post at times when I know I'm going to be able to like watch that. I don't always
Sure.
have time to answer everything or answer every message, but if I'm taking the time to post something, I do try to at least respond to maybe a question somebody has about it.
Oh, for sure. And you're really good about it, for sure. And you've been certainly nice about sharing my stuff. So thank you for
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
You,
But I can.
you've got a big network, like a lot of people know about you. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, yeah. It's that faulty Friday or faulty Mondays and fractured Fridays.
Yeah, no, exactly,
Those silly
and
little hashtags go a long
I
way.
love it. We'll make sure to put them in this video when we post it. But really though, with that following, it takes consistency, right? You can't do it all the time, but if you keep up with it, it stays residual in it. Your friends go and look, maybe, and the feed feeds it to people. So
Yeah,
I've been trying to take a page out of your book and kind of adapt what I'm doing here to what I think might work, which is at this moment kind of pretty free form and
yeah,
posting
yeah.
random videos. I do stuff. I've been testing like the difference between like hashtagging stuff and just So, but anyways, it's fun and it's a good use of my time right now. So,
Yeah, I would just say stay humble, always give credit where credit is due.
yep,
And honestly, what's more important to me than my digital followers or my digital network is like my personal network. Like I
right,
love going to conferences and seeing the people and talking to them. It's really nice to be able to walk into a room and be like, oh, I know that person, or I know that person, and I know their story or what they're looking on or looking at. And what I even appreciate more are the people that are, I don't want to say older, but like people who've been in the industry longer, like a really long time,
yeah,
and just learning from them. Like
yep.
I don't know, maybe I have an old soul, but I love just being in a room of gray-haired people and just listening and hearing them talk and life lessons. Like those are my people.
Oh, I'm the same way actually. Two episodes that I've got banked are like older geologists. One is Galen Miller.
Yeah.
I told him in the podcast. I was like, I met him because we bought Whaloo from Gastar, and I just, I told him in our little podcast, I was like, dude, the minute I walked into your office, I knew you were the kind of geologist I liked. You
Oh, I
know?
know. I like Galen a
The
lot.
good stories, and then
Yeah.
and I told Jim Bucci, who I also had on, was what the difference is, and we're really fortunate for this fact as geologists is until we either stop clicking or being able to write, we just keep getting better. Our knowledge base of successes and failures and anecdotes and experiences are really a treasure trove of information. And, it really, as you get older, you get to really kind of have a little bit more clairvoyance on what's happening. And that's why I'm the same way. I try to keep those people close as well.
Yeah, yeah, it's so important in this industry, and
Yep.
it's like the people in this industry are just so they're like they're like family in a way. Like I don't know how many times I've seen something maybe bad happen in the industry, and then like everyone comes together to help and make it better.
100%.
Yeah, there was a guy he recently he had his car broken into and had a bunch of his like scientific equipment stolen. And then like everybody came together to help him get his equipment. And then ironically, he had like an accident in the field, like a really bad accident. And
Yes.
then people came together again just to like support
Yes. I've
him. And
seen
it's
those
like that's our
posts.
like those are our people.
Yeah. No, it is a great group of hardworking, dedicated, loving, and just good, honest to goodness people.
Yes, it really is. It really is.
Yeah. Well, you're certainly one of them, Molly. I think we're kind of getting pretty, no, you really are. And we're getting pretty close on time. But do you have any final thoughts you'd like to leave with us?
Um, no, this has been great. It's been great to talk about like structure, which I love, and then we talked a little bit about like branding and networking and just relationships in our industry and how great like the people are. So it's been fun.
It's awesome. Well, to everybody watching, thank you for coming, Molly. Please make sure you subscribe to my channel, give the show a like, hit the notification bell, and to all you structural geologists out there, it's not your fault. We'll see you soon.
You have to work for it. Don't be crazy. And work for your money.